Okay, so I don't know if you guys find yourself doing as much wiring as I do throughout the year, but and we'll get back to this mess of a table right now. But I figured I'd take a quick second and show you exactly what we have going on here and what I do and how I do it, and kind of the 5 W's, if you will. Almost everything that we get is from Speed Tech lights or Superbright LEDs. Everything that you see up here right now, this is all from Speed Tech lights. I want to say the wiring harnesses are from Superbright LEDs, and then the switches here, which are just heavy duty toggle switches, if you can see here. So I have one here, and one here. We got these off of Amazon. But alright, so let's start up here by the battery. Okay, here we go. So down here, obviously you have your positive and your negative, right? And then our wiring harnesses, I always use wiring harnesses with relays, fused relays, right? So you have your relays here, and I just clumped them in. They usually come with this little bracket right here. They have a little hole in it so that you can actually take a screw if you need to, and which really it's more of a more stable and permanent, solution if you screw them down. But I just zip tie them together just so I can push them out of the way. I like duct tape and zip ties. So got the fuses here. I always like to keep this stuff right here, somewhere where it's not necessarily going to be out in the elements and get wet. So definitely enough room here for us to be able to hook up the all our positive and all our negatives. And then, as you can see, all the stuff here it's already sheathed, but I always like when it's going to be outside. I love Gorilla Tape, so I just, even though it's already sheathed, I always take Gorilla Tape and wrap it again. So if you can kind of see this wiring harness that we made, and I just brought it down here over to here, and then if you can see up under here, right here is where all the connections are right now that go to the switches. So if you look here, so there's a wiring harness coming back from the battery, and then right here is where everything travels up all the way to the dashboard to these three switches over here. Okay, so down here, I wanted to have this open for the video here, but I will tape all of this stuff up. But this tape right here, I think it's called mastic tape, I want to say. Hold on, I've got it right here. Yeah, okay, so this is moisture sealing electrical tape, this mastic tape, if you will. The idea is it provides a waterproof barrier. Not that these switches necessarily need it, but I like to over-engineer things. So, and how that mastic tape works is you stretch it out about 50 to 75%, and then the more it's stretched, the better seal that you get. Anyway, so these run up here. Here's all the connections down here. We still got to tape all that stuff up, and then you can kind of see right here where it runs up, kind of follows the hydraulic lines. But so up here, you're going to have your toggle switches, and then what we use for toggle switch here is just this T switch. It's a heavy-duty toggle switch. The reason why I like these is because it comes with this little rubber boot here. It's not powered, so it doesn't have a light on it. The switches that I have in the truck have lights on it, but I wanted something, because it's on the tractor, that was going to be, since it's going to be out in the elements. Well, we got this MaxBrite T switch here from Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, and so far they've been great. All right, so what do I do with the switches here? So if you look at all these switches, so I wired everything here so that when you use all these switches, the on position, they're all in. So even at night, I know, or during the day, I know, like, because they're not lit up, right? So I want to know if I bumped one and turned it on. But as long as they're all pushed outwards, I know that they're off. So I wired them that way, and then let's see if I can get in a little bit closer here on this. But and then essentially, you know, drilled some holes in these little cutout panels right here that the tractor already had, and then I sealed it with silicone. And then after I screwed the rubber cap on, I put some silicone around that as well, so it's nice and sealed up against the elements. Now if you come back here, you kind of see where it followed up, and then you've got your roll bar here, and then you got all the lights up here. So let me come around here and I'll show you. So this looks like a big giant mess here, but I had some extra 14 gauge wire. I think it's 14 gauge, and so instead of buying the actual extensions, if you will, I just soldered some stuff together and extended it so it would reach all the way up here. Anyway, so you can see where the lights come with an actual bare wire. So what I did was I took all these lights, and then I put the connector on it, soldered the connector onto the lights here. So all this stuff is all going to be taped up, and then everything will be, you know, zip tied up, so it's nice and pretty back here. Now what I did back here, so these two side lights, there's one here and there's one here, they go to one of the switches, right? I can't remember which one I stuck them on right now. And then there's two of these lights, so there's one in the back here, and then there's one in the front, and then those also go to one switch. The thing that you have to be careful about, and the thing that you have to pay attention to, is how powerful these lights are, and you have to wire all this in conjunction with the relay, right? So you've got a relay, a fuse, a switch, and then you've got your lights. So if you're going to put two lights on one switch, then that relay and then that switch has to be rated to support the power of both of those lights, if you will. So these right here are little strobes. Let me climb up here, I'll show you. So these right here are little strobes. I kind of attached them with some silicone around them yesterday, and I put some painter's tape on it just so I could hold it in place while it dried. And then these lights right here, the strobe lights, are on its own switch, and the easiest way to do that was basically it's just a Y connector, right? So I didn't have to use two separate connections. Now if you look up here and you look at this gaggle of wires, and why I use these connectors up here instead of soldering them is because to change the flash pattern, you have to actually use this blue wire. Now I got the flash pattern where I want them, but you have to use this blue wire and tap it into the negative side. All right, I'm gonna fall on myself over here. All right, so coming back over here to the switch, right? The only thing that the switch does is it opens and closes the circuit, and that's how your lights or whatever you have back there is going to receive power. So I'll switch this one on. This one is for the strobes, and if you come back here again, you can see I've got the strobes on. Right? And now if I wanted to change the pattern, all I have to do is take this little blue wire here and then tap it into the negative, and you can change it. I think there's like, I don't know, 20 different patterns or so of these wires. But okay, let me come back down here. And then before you guys ask, the brackets right here that these lights are on, I had ordered the lights of kind of how I wanted them, and then I took it to our local fab shop, our local welder. I said, hey, here's the lights, here's where I want them, and then he welded everything together. And then once I got it back, you know, I primed it, and you can kind of see where the lines are, but I primed it and I painted it. So all right, let's go in here, take you back to this mess of a table that we've been working with, because the one thing that I did want to show you out of this whole thing was this right here. So this is from Wi-Fi, and we got these right here on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a solder and seal connection kit. Comes with a whole bunch of different ones, right? So white, red, blue, they're all color coded to whatever gauge wire that you're trying to splice together. But the cool thing is, and I've never used these, I don't know why I haven't found these in my life, but soldering is always going to be your best method of connection, right? Like this thing right here, it's not so awesome. I just use it for the strobe so I can change the flash pattern, right? But then you know, you've got butt splices that you can use. You've got heat shrink butt splices, which is just a butt splice with the heat shrink already in it. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do it, but soldering is always going to be the #1 best way to splice two pieces of wire together, right? But it's time consuming because, you know, you have to a lot of times have a soldering station and be able to, you know, hold the two pieces of wire together, heat the wire up, get the solder on. For anyone who solders, that you already know kind of the process. However, this right here is awesome because this is essentially it is right there, if you can see in here. So there is solder. It is a low melt point solder that's basically sitting inside of some heat shrink. So when you heat it up, this solder melts without melting the heat shrink, and then the heat shrink, you know, basically does its thing and it wraps around the wire. Now, if you're going to use this stuff, and again, this is Wi-Fi. I don't know. I was like, I'll try it. You know, I'm used to soldering, and so I figured I'd give this a shot. And man, it has been amazing. However, I would suggest that you don't get a heat gun. You know, it doesn't have to be a real expensive heat gun, but a heat gun's going to be better than using, you know, a propane torch, just because it's more of a steady heat, and you know, depending on your heat gun, you have different settings. I just have a low and a high. Found that it works best on the high setting. But I think that's essentially it. So kind of just to recap this whole thing, you know, we've got the wiring harnesses that have you know, relays and fuses, and then just taped it up and ran it down here. And then, you know, you've got your the parts that go to the switch, wires that go to the switches, and then we wired it up underneath, kind of following the hydro lines. And then came back here. So I'll try and take a video of what it all looks like at night. We still have to finish this mess right here. So I'll you know, do another video when it's all done. and so you can actually see what it looks like when it's all taped and zip tied up, and we get everything bolted down. Right now it's all loose because we want to aim them at night, not during the day. But all right, hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Okay, so here it is, the all the wires taped up and then zip tied and then ran all the way up here. Got a little bit of green painter's tape up there for I put some silicone. Go up around here, show you. So I put some silicone around the base of the strobe lights. And then got everything taped up, zip tied up. Here, let me go down here and I'll show you what it looks like kind of from behind here. So a little bit of a bulge there up in the center, but that's where all the plug and play connections are. I didn't want to hardwire that stuff because I want to, if anything should happen, I want to be able to kind of just quickly unplug it and swap it out. So it's dark out, just got done angling these lights, and let me climb up here. You can see the strobes. It's still covered by some green painter's tape, just because it's supposed to rain here, so I don't want that silicone. I want that silicone to be able to dry, but right. There we go. So that's the front bar, the front light bar, and that is the back light bar. All right, let me turn on the two sides here. There you go. Those are the two circular sides, pointed forward at an angle, so that I can see there and then off to there. I'll climb down and show you kind of what it looks like from the back and the sides. There you go. So this is kind of at a 45-degree angle. You get the sides, you get the front there. A lot better than the stock headlights that come on this tractor, but then you got the back. There it is, guys.